Hey, what's going on? My name's Dave Shuttler. I'm a 42-year-old father of a 2-year-old and a 1-year-old, former Secret Service, been in plenty of magazines, and I've helped hundreds of guys just like yourself lose the belly fat, lose the bloat, regain the energy and confidence that you once had. Now, what we're gonna cover in this video, we're gonna cover everything in terms of visceral fat. So visceral fat's the dangerous stuff around our internal organs. And then our subcutaneous fat's the stuff on the outside, okay? So we're gonna break down 3 things that you can start doing right now after watching this video to start getting healthier and lose some of this dangerous visceral fat. Now, if you're new to this channel, please subscribe if you like this content. And also if you're interested in actually just taking further action and looking what that might look like for you, you can always book a free strategy session call in the comments down below. Now, let's get into it. So the first thing with stress management, and sleep, we want to think about quality sleep, right? Not necessarily quantity. Yes, I do believe, just from personal experience and from client experience, that having around 7 to 9 hours is going to be optimal, and that's quality sleep. But we also have to consider, how do we get this under control? How do we get more quality sleep, right? It starts with our nighttime routine. So winding down before bed, putting away the phone. As hard as it is sometimes because we're so glued to our phone, we need to think about things like putting down the phone 30 minutes to an hour before bed, actually reading, maybe stretching, doing some other activity other than actually just staring at our phone, because that blue light that we're getting from our phone can actually decrease our own body's production of melatonin, helping us just get into a better sleep state. Then something also to consider in terms of our stress, stress management, things like that, is really carb timing, okay? So carb timing when it comes to stress management and actually allowing us to lose visceral fat more effectively, right? There's no doubt about it, high chronic stress can actually lead to more deposits of visceral fat. And that is absolutely what we don't want. Acute stress, small bits of stress are actually really beneficial. Now, when we look at carbs and cortisol, which is the stress hormone, right? Carbohydrates actually, and cortisol, carbohydrates release insulin. Insulin and cortisol have an inverse relationship. So let's say when we're trying to lose visceral fat, I would recommend, if you are relatively overweight, you have a lot more body fat, 20% or higher body fat levels, this applies to you, okay? So I would recommend maybe thinking about, from an energy management standpoint, from a cognitive standpoint, going on a lower-ish carb approach, right? But timing more of your carbs around your training and around some of these more demanding activities, okay? That is going to keep cortisol in check overall, okay? And also, you're not gonna be just slamming carbohydrates all day long when you are still in not necessarily the best shape, right? So as you get leaner, you're actually going to be able to use more carbohydrates and things like that, okay? So that's number 1, sleep and stress management. Now, I can honestly say from my personal experience, I directly gained more fat, maybe some visceral fat, when I was more stressed out. I remember when I was competing, going through a diet for a competition or whatever it was. And I remember vividly that I was training clients at the time, and I was taking caffeine pills and consuming caffeine into the hours of 3, 4, 5 o'clock into the evening, just to stay alert with clients. And I remember telling my coach, I was like, why am I not, I'm in a diet, I'm in this deficit, I'm in this calorie deficit, why am I not actually losing fat? I feel like I'm honestly, just keep holding on to fat. It's not going down. And it was obviously because I was just continuing to push my body and stressing my body out by hammering coffee and caffeine pills into the evening. So that's where just having a handle on your stress and not just like, mental stress, like the things that you're putting in your body, like energy drinks, things like that. Having a good idea and a strategy around how to implement that. So number 2 is HIIT workouts, okay? Now, HIIT workouts, you don't have to necessarily go out sprinting. You don't have to do anything insane if you are not in a great place in terms of your condition and things like that, okay? What I would recommend doing is getting on something like a assault bike or an echo bike, something that is like one of those fan bikes, or even a spin bike or something like that, okay? There's a lot of low impact things that you can do. And how I'd recommend implementing this is doing this maybe anywhere from 1 to 3 times a week, okay? Now, if you are just starting out and you do have a lot of body fat and a lot of weight to lose, I would look at doing something like for a shorter duration, okay? So think like 8 to 10 seconds, all right, of going as hard as you can, okay? And then taking at roughly around, doing like a 1 to 6 work to rest ratio. So if you're going, let's say 10 seconds on a bike as hard as you can, taking about 60 seconds of active recovery. And then doing that for maybe, per session, anywhere from 6 to 10 rounds. So it's not gonna be like too long, it's very time efficient. And honestly, from the clients that I've worked with, including myself, as a client or myself, as we're going through this fat loss journey and getting into better and better shape, you start to be able to utilize carbohydrates better. You can actually push harder. Obviously, as you do this, you want to progress the intensity, progress the length, lots of different levers you can pull. But this is a great way to just continue to shave off visceral fat. And last, number 3, adding in a high quality spore-based probiotic, okay? You have to understand, most probiotics on the market are dead. They cannot actually survive the stomach acid, okay? So adding in a spore-based probiotic, all that does, having a good brand and quality probiotic, the spore aspect just allows it to get where it needs to go and actually diversify and populate what needs to populate, right? So there have been studies on Bacillus coagulans, hopefully I'm saying that correctly, that have shown, like in CAT scans and things like that, a reduction in waistline, a reduction in visceral fat. There's still more studies that need to be done on this, but there are studies out there that show this, okay? So really, one of the easiest things you can do, because here's the thing too, I think it's a really good idea for lots of people to just implement this, whether they're starting their journey, whether they're, been on their journey, because most Americans, like, we're under so much stress from lifestyle, from our technology, from toxins in the environment, from the food we eat, because, pesticides are everywhere, okay? So we have to understand we're constantly being bombarded, and our gut is the first line of defense. So if we can take a probiotic, a spore-based probiotic, if we can fortify our gut, keeping things in that are supposed to be in, keeping things out that are supposed to be out, and ultimately just keeping our bloating, our gas, like all of these things that we experience, and also taking something like this can actually attack and get rid of some of the bad stuff and then help you start to populate some of the good stuff, okay? And then we can start to add in, we can even put this into like different yogurts and actually multiply the strains. I know we're getting into a lot of detail here, but just know from my experience, from client experience, within like a week or less, people are feeling better, okay? And for me, that's good enough, to just have somebody, be sleeping better, be operating at a higher level. Super important. And as a father, if you can show up better, have better energy levels, all that stuff, that's huge. So these are the top 3 things I would absolutely start implementing to start to just destroy visceral fat 100%. There's a lot of other things too, but these are the top 3 things that I would just recommend getting a handle on first and foremost. Now, if you like this content, again, please subscribe. More than happy to answer any of your questions. I'm an open book. I'm a dad, just like probably some of you are. And yeah, if you want to know more about how you would actually implement a strategy for yourself, I have a free strategy session if you want to book in down below on one of the links. And that's it, guys. Until next time, I'll catch you in the next video. Have a great day. Thanks for watching.